body needs energy all day. While you're sleeping, while you're talking, taking a shower, whatever, having sex, you need energy, okay? Mm-hmm. Your body typically will get the energy from the food that you eat, the calories.
Okay.
And your body stores calories in the form of glycogen, which is a glucose storage form, and fat. Okay. Fat is a storage form of energy. So when your body needs energy, it takes it from those calories you just ate or you ate a couple hours ago, or it takes it from your stores.
Okay.
If you aren't taking in fresh calories, your body still needs energy. So it says, where am I going to go to get this energy? Well, the first thing it does is it goes into your liver and your muscles and takes out the glycogen. So it depletes those stores, the inventory, it knocks them all out.
Okay.
Now where do you go? You go to your fat. The body breaks down the fat, converts it to energy, and then you use it to do what you have to do. Now you don't know this is happening, by the way. This is happening obviously microscopically internally, but this is what fasting does. Fasting drives your body away from food energy into fat energy, melts the fat per se, and then you use it.
Okay.
So intermittent fasting has to work in the sense of you have to be very rigid about your times. And this is what I mean. If you have a feeding window, you have to stick to it. If you extend your feeding window into your fasting window, you're going to interrupt that fasting period. It's during that fasting period, during that period where you don't have energy, that your body's driving to your fat stores.
Okay.
Now, people say, well, what can I have during my fast? In my way, you can only have about 25 to 50 calories of a beverage. So maybe coffee. If you want to have some coffee or black coffee or some herbal tea, if the calorie count goes above about 50 calories, then you're going to switch from burning fat to go into the calories you're consuming.
Wow.
And we want to keep the body, the switch, we want to keep it into the fat direction.
Okay.
And that's why you don't what's called break the fast.
Okay.
So in my programs, and the last one, Clean and Lean, it's about clean eating with intermittent fasting.
Yep.
So how would you do it? Let's say, for example, you want to do a 12-hour fasting window.
Okay.
That means you're going to eat for 12 hours and fast for 12 hours. First, by the way, 12 hours is a long time to eat. I mean, it's a lot of time. And, you know, so
do you believe it's a long time not to eat or a long time to eat?
I think it's a long time to eat.
Okay.
12 hours.
Okay.
Right?
Because you could be sleeping potentially 8 of the other 12.
See, no, there you go. So you got it already. So people say, but 12-hour fasting, guess what? If you slept for about 8 hours, that means just 2 hours before and 2 hours afterward that you're not eating. It's 4 hours really.
Okay.
Now, this is what you would do. This is what I think is the easiest way to do it. If you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, don't start eating till 10. Do everything you normally do from 8 to 10. At 10 o'clock, start your feeding window.
Okay.
From 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night could be your feeding window, your eating window.
Yes.
Okay? And then at 10 at night, you fast.
Okay.
Wrap around. That's a 12-12 window.
Okay.
You can burn a lot of fat in that 12-hour fasting window.
We're gonna go to lean in a minute.
Yeah.
The reason is what's unique about your book. One is the detailed explanation of why intermittent fasting works, but most of my friends who do intermittent fasting are like, it's great because once I'm in that feeding window, I can eat all the crap I want to eat. That's what most people say, right? Like and I've had friends who have lost weight doing it that way, but you've sort of combined clean eating with the fasting. This is really important because people do say to me often, you must eat really clean. And I usually respond, yeah, but I'm not really sure that I know what the clean part of that means. So what is, and I want to stay on the fasting, but I'm just curious about this, like what by definition is clean eating for you?
Yes. Clean eating means reducing the amount of processed foods or ingredients that you're consuming. It doesn't necessarily mean total elimination. It's difficult to not eat anything processed for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
You can go a couple days, but it's almost very difficult. But processed ingredients, things that have been processed by manufacturers that started like this, and they add synthetic chemicals, preservatives, all these additives into the food, and you see this on the shelf. This process here, this thing here is called processing the food. And then you see the finished product. Things like, chips or, Pop-Tarts. All these things that do not look like how they came out of the ground or off the tree or walking around in the pasture, right? Now, to some degree, you're going to have to do some processing. But it's the addition of all these synthetic chemicals. And by the way, I wish we had like a package of something to look at. You turn the back of a label of a food packaged item, and read what's in there. If it has more than 5 to 7 ingredients,
Okay.
it is highly unlikely that it's a clean food.
Okay, so 5 to 7 ingredients is probably processed.
There's some processed in there. That's the way it is.
Okay.
Because you can't have like 15, clean ingredients in one food. It just doesn't work that way.
Okay.
All the other stuff is, xanthan gum, blah, 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 blah. You name it, right? Things you can't pronounce and don't even know what they are.
Why is it bad for you, though? I hear this all the time. Like, you don't want stuff with a bunch of preservatives in it. Why is that necessarily bad for your body?
A couple things. First of all, it can, we think that it can have a deleterious effect on your hormones, okay? So these synthetic ingredients can disrupt your body's hormones and throw your hormones in a state of just panic, actually.
Okay.
So that's one reason. The other reason is that we believe that some of these synthetic sweeteners, for example, that some of these things actually can mess with your brain chemistries, right? Artificial sweeteners are 100 to 200 times sweeter than regular cane sugar. Sweeter. And so what happens is when you consume these artificial sweeteners, you have this dopamine response in your brain, which is pleasure. Right? It's the pleasure reward pathway. So you eat all this sugar, your brain releases dopamine, the dopamine travels in your brain, it goes to your pleasure center and says, "Ooh, I feel good." So you know what I'm going to do?
Again.
I'm going to get more.
Yep, again.
Right? Because it's like Pavlov's dog, right? So we keep going, it's a conditioned response. We keep going to it. So what happens is this: when you eat these synthetic sugars, particularly where I'm right now, when you eat these sugars, you crave more sugar.
Okay.
And more and more and more. And eventually, you know what you're going to do? You're going to get regular cane sugar.
Yeah.
And you're going to consume it like crazy.
Do these, thank you for this, by the way, for my own edification. But so do these processed sugars have the same inflammatory effects in your body that you read about traditional sugars having?
Great question. The answer is they're not 100% sure.
Okay.
So even though artificial sugars have been around for a very long time, and at least since I was a kid, I remember my mother used to eat like sweet and low and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so way before then, they have not done a lot of real good studies that really looks at the physiological impact. When I say physiological, I mean how the body operates internally. They haven't done really, really great studies. Some of it's political, by the way, because some people don't want you to do those studies, right? It's a big business, right?
Right.
But some of it is just that researchers in general kind of have not, they haven't gone hard into it to really look at it. Now more studies are coming out saying, we have lab rat studies. So we have rat studies that show higher rates of cancer in some cases and things like that. But then again, the argument against that is that what happens in the lab doesn't always transfer to human beings. We're much more complicated than the lab animals. So we kind of extrapolate what could be happening in us.
But most people would say, why take the risk, right? I mean, is it? Do you think to some extent that this is economically driven, meaning that I've had people tell me, I want you to correct it if it's not true. It's sort of more expensive to eat cleaner. Is that a fallacy?
It's not a fallacy, but it's not as expensive as people think it is.
Okay.
Right? So let me go back to the sugar, for example. So I believe that the economics help drive why manufacturers put all this junk into food. Because these synthetic preservatives make the food more shelf stable.
Yes.
They can stay on the shelf longer before they spoil, and therefore a retailer can buy it and you can be on a Target shelf for 6 weeks, 8 weeks and be okay to give customers time to buy it, and the retailer doesn't lose money. So a big part of it is financial. The other part of it is that it's cheaper.
Right.
I mean, junk is cheaper. It's junk. Like, excuse the expression, but a junky car is not going to cost what it costs to buy a brand new Mercedes.
Right. Yeah.
So manufacturers are putting junk into foods because it's cheaper to put junk into foods rather than keep the food whole and to farm it in a whole way, organic way. It doesn't have to be organic, it's a whole other conversation, but to farm it in a way where you're not putting all these pesticides and antibiotics and hormones in it, it's more difficult.
I never heard anybody talk about the hormone effect. That's really, really compelling. And I wonder, I'm not kidding, I do look at a dude like you and I'm like, I wonder if this guy's, for his age, got more growth hormone and testosterone still in his body because he's eating cleaner. I don't know. I wonder.
Well, like you said, when people ask you if you eat clean, I don't eat perfectly. In all of my books, the first thing I tell people is, I'm never going to ask you to eat perfectly.
Yeah.
like, let's be realistic. I'm not perfect. I mean, I had Fat Burger yesterday.
You did.
I love Fat Burger.
Me
like,
too.
it's one of my joints.
Me too.
And so I'll have a burger. Now, do I have Fat Burger? I have it maybe once every couple months or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have it. I'm going to have, when I go to New York, I'm going to have a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
It's a New York slice.
That's so good to hear, by the way. Like, I seriously, I think people need to hear that, because I think I have this thing that I teach in my stuff too, that if whatever you're going to begin to do is not something you can maintain, you know, someone hasn't worked out in 2 years, they're like, I'm going to train for 2.5 hours. I'm like, no, go for 30 minutes, get a workout in. Am I right? And
so right.
so it's so important that you're hearing what Dr. Smith is saying, that it's got to be something you can maintain. You can have a piece of pizza, right? You can have a piece of cake. It's okay. I do too. I want everybody to know that.
Yes. On my Instagram page, go to my Instagram page at Dr. Ian Smith, spell the doctor out, I-A-N Smith. You'll see, I'll post pizza. I'll post, like, for example, I'll post at the Chicago Bulls game. I'll have like a rainbow cake. Now, how often do I have it? The cake is this big.
Right.
But I'm going to eat maybe,
That's what I do.
yeah, like 3 or 4, and I'm good.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
I don't deprive myself. I'm good. And I'll post it to let people know, listen, how can you live life?
Right.
People say, I don't eat carbs. What are you talking about?
Of course you do. Right.
Of course you do.
Right.
And by the way, the #1 fuel source for your brain is glucose, is carbs.
Okay.
You need carbs more than any macronutrient. Fat, protein, carbs, you need carbs the most because it's fuel source for the body. Now, the issue is the right carbs, right? So when people come to me and say, oh, I'm following a no-carb diet, I look at them like,
Right.
why? Because you read it in People magazine?
So your energy level is zip all the time, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
What do marathon runners do the night before a marathon?
Carb up.
They carb
Exactly,
up.
right.
You need
Yeah.
carbs. So my whole point is that I think that people have to have a better understanding, you know, when they're trying to do better, and people want to do better, by the way.
Sure.
One thing, I was in a meeting yesterday, I said to the guy, I don't think people who make decisions at the top of the food chain understand that the guys at the bottom, they really want to do better.
Yes.
Some of them don't know how to do better.
So
they may lack a little willpower. But who walks around and says, I want to be 400 pounds overweight and I can't tie my shoes, I can't walk up steps without getting winning? Nobody.
Nobody.
No one wants to live like that.
I totally agree with you. Now, you said something on fat, so I got to ask you just, and then your opinion on it. I got a couple more questions on it. I'm curious because I get asked this one a lot too, like real opinion on someone who eats the keto type plan. Let's just hear it. I want to know your opinion on it.
No way.
Okay.
Keto is, first of all, not a new program.
Okay.
It's Atkins repackaged.
Okay.
This program's been around for a long time. The high protein, high fat diet is as old as my mother.
Okay.
Right? Sorry, Mom. But it's old, okay?
Right.
And the thing is this. This is why keto works. Okay, I want people to understand this. Keto works almost similar to intermittent fasting. Keto works because instead of consuming carbs, which your body prefers, I just said it's the #1 fuel source for your body. Instead of consuming carbs, you consume fats. Fats are a form of energy. And so you eat high protein, high fat foods. You turn those fats that you eat and the fat already in your body, you turn it into something called a ketone body. That process is called ketosis. Taking fat to ketone is called ketosis. Ketone then becomes your energy source. Okay. So does keto work? Absolutely, it works. Is it sustainable? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because in keto, you are making your body go into an artificial
state.
biochemical state. And the minute you eat off the keto plan, you switch from ketosis to regular, and then all that weight comes back.
Okay.
So yeah.
This is the cycle I see with most of these sort of eating plans or workout plans. If it's anything, your business plan, your phone call plan, your work habits, when you wake up, if it's not sustainable, it's not something you should be doing. That's, for me, anything that I'm approached with that's new that I'm going to try to do and implement in my life has to be something that would be a lifestyle for me going forward, not some little window. It's not that I don't do little blitzes or fixes or different
Everyone
trainings.
does, yes.
But when it comes to my eating, this is something I know I'm going to be required to do the rest of my life. I want it to be something I can plan on doing forever.
It's the 70-30 rule. If 70% of the time you can make good decisions, right? This is life in general. If 70% of the time, and 30% of the time, it may not be the best decision. I mean, you don't want to be suicidal about a decision, right? But if 70% of the time you can make a decision that makes sense, that's well thought out, that's thorough. You're sitting down, you're at a restaurant, you sit there and you say, well, it's not the greatest restaurants, but they do have a salad, but I want some fries. Okay, Have a salad and some fries. But don't do like fries and then, a big, huge steak and then a big dessert that's 600, 700 calories.
You would think that people know what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you, I do exactly that. Like sometimes I'll go eat clean, but I'll do that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to eat these fries, but I'm going to have a salad with it. Like I actually do that, kind of make a negotiation with myself. Do you do that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I do the same exact thing.
Or if I know, for example, that like I like ribeyes. I love ribeyes. And in fact, when I go do ribeyes, I get the most marbleized, which is fatty.
Yeah.
I get the most marbleized piece of meat, and because that's the best ribeye, right?
Yeah.
But
I eat greens with it. That's what I do.
Right, but I'll make sure I have good vegetables.
Yes, me
steamed
too.
vegetables with it.
That's
right?
exactly what I do.
I don't do a ribeye and fries.
That's crazy. Me too. People think I'm nuts. They're like, so you're eating this whole ribeye, but you won't get some mashed potatoes? I'm like, nope, I'm eating greens with it. I do the same thing. So Prove This Works, by the way. Do you still run your Facebook group's still very prominent, right?
Oh, yes.
So everyone, I just want you to hear this because I like data. Y'all know I'm a little bit nuts about this stuff, but like this isn't really up for debate. This isn't theory any longer. This is statistically, mathematically been proven. So you have a Facebook group. I want them to be able to get in it and then tell them what's sort of like the average weight loss or transformation that's happening that you see in the first little window of time.
Yeah. So and let me give you some context. People say, what is good weight loss? Let's discuss that first, okay, if we can. Good weight loss, if you could lose on average 1 to 2 pounds a week, that is, any real nutritionist would be like, oh my goodness, that is wonderful. The problem is people are so habituated into thinking that you need to lose all this weight in a month. Geez, it took you 3 years to put on 30 pounds. You want to lose it in 30 days. That's unrealistic. And it's dangerous, by the way, for most people because the way they do it, not that losing weight so fast is necessarily dangerous, but it's how you do it.
Okay.
Lemonade diets, cayenne pepper, apple cider vinegar, no. So 1 to 2 pounds a day, a week is a great weight loss. Now, in my program, I'll admit it's rapid weight loss. So people typically lose in 30 days between 12 and 15 pounds.
And by the way, I knew that, and these aren't people who are always 300 pounds.
No.
Sort of a 150-pound woman, 30 days, lost like 15 pounds, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why they're doing it. They're doing it because they are making lifestyle changes. And they're not starving themselves. They're just eating food that don't have all those processed ingredients.
Okay.
They're not drinking as much soda.
Yes.
I mean, it's not neuroscience. Soda is if there's one thing I could eliminate from diets is soda.
Even diet soda.
Diet soda, it's all junk.
Okay.
You're stuffing all this junk into the best machine ever built is our body.
Yeah.
And you're just killing it, right?
Okay.
And so people lose all that weight, and I also get them moving. And like you said, I don't say go work out for 2 hours.
Right.
Take 30 minutes, and guess what? Break the 30 minutes up. Do 15 in the morning, 15 at night. Because the minutes count, not how much you're in the gym. It counts that you're doing the exercise, the exertion of energy.
Okay.
People say, I worked out for an hour today. You spent 25 minutes on the phone or talking to other people in the gym.
Yeah, right,
You
exactly.
For an hour.
You see this all the time.
You see it all the time, right?
Yep.
I see guys in between sets. I'm like, and I'm very focused in the gym because first of all, I like to be efficient.
Me too.
I like to do my work and get out. I don't need it for social hour, right?
either.
I'm not picking up girls or anything like that. Like I'm in the gym to work out. So you'll see guys in between sets. They're like taking 10 minutes between sets.
I know.
What are these guys doing?
I don't understand that. And by the way, that guy looks exactly the same the next year when I see him at the gym. There's been no change in their body at all. Like, dude, you come in here, you might as well hit it hard and get out of here. The idea is to change your body. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing.
I was training a guy once, and I said to the guy, so this guy and I have been working, this older guy, we've been working for like 6 months, and I was working with the gym, and there's another guy who we saw every single day that we went. So and we didn't go every day, so he probably was there.
Yes.
And I said to the guy I was training, I said, look at this guy. He's doing it all wrong. And even my client said, wow. He looks the same as he looked for over a year.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
He doesn't change.
Yeah, and by the way, you become unconscious, guys, in what you're doing. Like even as you're listening to this, maybe your workout needs some evolution and some mix-up. Maybe the way you're eating does need to change. Okay, 2 more questions on this, then I got to ask you stuff that I'm like dying to ask you. So, is there an exception to this? Meaning, a lot of people that follow me are, some of them are bodybuilders.
Yep.
Some of them are, though, really intense about their training, really intense about their lifting. Right, and so I'm wondering if you look excited to answer this question.
Well, because you're asking all the questions that are really good questions, and I get these questions, like you're asking the right questions, but go ahead, let you finish the question.
So is there an exception for someone who's a heavy trainer physically, let's just say with weights?
100% there is.
Okay.
And this is why, by the way.
Okay.
If you are a person who lifts a lot of free weights, resistance training, and you're trying to build muscle, hypertrophy, make your muscle larger versus lean muscle, okay? If you're trying to build bulk muscle, then you need a lot of protein and you need a lot of calories.
Okay.
You need to, because what people don't realize is this, and this is why I tell women to lift weights also, by the way, not to build big muscles, but muscles are the most metabolically active tissue in the body. By that I mean this: muscles need to be fed, right?
Yes.
And they're like a growing child. The bigger your kid gets, the more they eat, the more they eat. That's what muscle is. The bigger your muscle is, the more you need to feed it. That means all the calories you're eating goes into your muscle.
Okay.
Why do men lose weight faster than women? Not because men work harder, not because they're better. They have more muscle mass.
Got it.
And so if you have a man and a woman who are both 175 pounds and they are eating the same thing, the man is going to lose weight faster or not gain as much weight because a lot of his calories are going to feed his muscle.
Okay.
And the woman mostly has adipose tissue or fat. Now, that being said, so if you are a bodybuilder, a marathon runner, a vigorous exerciser, you need more calories. You need more protein. So in my programs, I will say, when people hit me on Instagram or Facebook and say, Dr. Ian, I do this, what should I do? I said, listen, you got to eat more. You got to increase it by at least 30%.
Wonderful.
Because your demands are greater.
Okay.
Now here's the other part of it. When you're doing intermittent fasting, it cuts you, right?
Okay.
It can cut you very well. So you got to be careful. For those who are not bodybuilders, I say do your workout during your fasting time. Because let's think about this, right?
Yeah.
If fasting works because your body does not have calorie energy, and your body needs energy, we're going to go into the fat stores even harder because we have nothing, nowhere to get the energy.
Yeah.
So working out during your fasting window is a great way to really cut.
Awesome advice.
Right?
Yes.
But if you are doing a 2-hour workout, you're doing a huge HIIT workout, don't do it then because you don't have enough energy on board to get through the workout. You could hurt yourself.
This is so good. And by the way, I'm a big fasted cardio person too, but I am going to go through this phase of adjusting. I can very easily not eat the last 2 hours before I go to bed. That's not a challenge. It's not a challenge to wait a couple hours when I wake up.
And that's why I say start that way.
Yeah.
People who are a little nervous, this is what you do. And my program's on Instagram, so if you follow me on Instagram, I do all these challenges, like a 7-day soup challenge, 3-day weekend challenge. So if you follow me, I'll say to you, do not eat your last meal within 2 hours of going to sleep.
Okay.
2 hours.
Okay.
Because from the time, let's say you go to sleep at 10, after 8 o'clock, we're not going to eat. Because all those calories you just put in for dinner, we need to give our body enough time to burn as many of them off before we lay down. Because when you lay down, your metabolic rate drops to almost nothing, relatively speaking. And so all those calories have to go somewhere. Where do excess calories go that you don't burn?
Fat.
They become fat.
Right.
So people are messing themselves